I'm going to give a demonstration of mixed media, which is really experimental, no mistakes. You don't have to draw beautifully, but you do have to be brave and just go for it. And I'm going to show you some examples of the materials that you can use. This is very much what my work is based on. Actually, there's virtually nothing you can't use, but this is going to be on a flat surface, so I'm not going to use metal or wood because it's all going to be on paper, card, or it could be on canvas, that'd be fine, board, but something flat. I'm a mixed media artist and I use photography and wood block printing and mixed media, and I use a lot of materials, as you'll see when I do my first demonstration. I think the thing to stress is the experimentation bit, that this is all about going for it, not worrying about mistakes. In fact, the mistakes sometimes can just be the best bit because you turn them into something really interesting. And there are lots of artists who you might or might not have seen who actually talk about how they use their mistakes. They drip paint, and then something magical happens in the process. And that can be the best bit sometimes, not to be too precious or careful. And some of the demonstrations probably, particularly the image printing, frequently goes wrong. You just have to persevere. There isn't a secret to it. It's perseverance, it's trial and error. But the first things that I'll be showing you will be just about the papers, the various papers, or card, or newsprint, or letters, or music, things like that you can add to make your mixed media piece more interesting. You can have these can be backgrounds, just backgrounds to anything. It could be a still life, it could be a face, it could be a view, but it can also be a piece in its own right, and then it's nice, can be nice, not necessary, but can be nice, to use type, letters, numbers, possibly randomly, but also if you want to put a thought on it or just something that's very personal. It's a very personal way of expressing yourself. I think that's why I use it. I used to just oil paint, not just oil paint, I mean I love oil painting, but I then found I was very tempted to add to it, not necessarily with collage, but with crayons and chalk pens and charcoal. And then I sort of developed this technique of using quite a few things really. And I use photography and I use wood block printing, but you don't have to. You can paint, draw, do whatever you like on top, lino cut. So the first thing I'm going to do is to introduce you to, a lot of you will have seen this, but a lot of the papers that you can use. I'm just going to use cheap paper to demonstrate what we're going to do now. This is all about background and the papers that you can use to print on or rip and stick or add to your composition. This bit can be lively and chaotic, and then obviously there is a stage where you have to think about, after that, when you've prepared everything, you think about your composition, which is more orderly. Otherwise it's utter chaos. But this bit, anything goes, and it could just turn out to be an abstract piece, but even with that you've got to balance light and dark, different shapes, contrast is very important, so that will come later. This is just about the paper and the backgrounds. So first of all, I'm going to talk about painted paper, and this is just newsprint that I painted on, which is really good because it's good for printing. That's plain newsprint, but it's good for printing and it's good for painting on as well, and it's very good for ripping, which I prefer to cutting. Some people like cut neat shapes. I don't really. As a rule, I rip paper. So I have prepared, that's for printing, I've prepared some different coloured papers which I have, some will have acrylic on them, some will have oil on them. and I have painted them in different shades. This is just to show you what you can do. You can cover a sheet, but what is quite nice is that it's not completely flat. You can see here the brush strokes, and it's got a bit of life and energy to it. So that actually will add to your piece, whatever you're making. It'll be good. So I've got some blue and some green. I haven't done every colour, obviously. And then I've stuck a few together so that you can see already, just in that very basic piece there, it's not a finished piece, it's got a tonal element, and I've started with a contrast of shapes, or sizes of shapes, and I've introduced some sheet music, which is another good thing. Also very nice is sort of old books, things like that, which are very nice as background or to print on. That you just use, I'll show you what we'll do for that. That's the plain painted paper, and you can use, probably it's best to use a big brush, so something like that. So you can really, you don't want to be going, you don't want it too small and fiddly. So you've got a range of colours, not every colour, but that will do. And then I'm going to show you some examples before we start printing on them of different things you can use. These are old letters which I think I bought in a junk shop in Brocante in France, just because I like French and I like the written language. So you can use that sort of thing. You can use brown wrapping paper, which is great because it just adds a lovely contrast. Bits of old ripped coloured paper. There's some music which I've experimented with. I've brushed on some paint, and then by the look of it, it's slightly shiny. I think I must have put some PVA over the top. PVA is great because it's completely transparent when it dries, but you can also use anything over the top of it. It doesn't resist, so that's great. I've got a book out. As I say, print is great, and old books that you don't mind ripping up. This is a sort of faded, you can see even there, there's a contrast. If you look at Picasso or Braque, you'll see in their early cubist collages, they've used a lot of newsprint, and they've used a lot of browns, sort of papery letters and envelopes and things. Actual printed newsprint is good too. Large letters can be great. I'm going to show you later on in the demonstration, I'm going to show you image transfer, where you can transfer these letters onto the printed surface. This is Hessian, but it's still flat, so you can paint it or you can have it that way up. It's just going to add, I think you really want to try and make it intriguing. That's the word. As well as a balance of shapes, intriguing. We're not thinking about the balance yet. Okay, now ends of sketchbooks there with the sort of crinkly bit are really good. They can look interesting. Here's some paper here where I have stenciled the word bateau. I think there's a lot of French in here because I lived in France for quite a long time and it's very personal to me. And there's something about collage and mixed media that is very personal, I think. I think that's why I like it. So there's some lettering. What else have we got here? That is great for printing or sticking. Another, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Love that. And then some white. This is a word postcard that I've painted over. That could go somewhere. Tissue paper can be used. This, I ripped off a poster that was already falling off the wall. It's a bit of Italian, I think it's a film, not sure. Anyway, again, lovely colour. Just wherever you go, look. And I often pick up things from the pavement if I see some old coloured paper that I think looks good. There's a lovely blue cement packet hanging around that some brand has got a very nice blue colour. So there's another thing you can use. And as I said, music is great. So we'll start with those. Those are your paper pieces of painted paper and then various different pieces of paper and or card. And that, you know, there'll be other things that you want to use. There's another bit of type there, which is rather nice. And this I think is lovely. These subtle, just from, that's an old envelope. And that's wrapping paper. Those there. And lettering, letters, postcards. So, those are some of the papers we're going to use. These are some other painted, these have just got various surfaces painted on them. Again, these are underpainted, and then I've painted a lighter colour, a cream on the top, and then you can actually, when you paste down, a lot of you will know, with tissue that's of the same tonal quality or same hue as your paint, that can look really nice, because by the time you've got the PVA underneath and the brush strokes on top, it looks completely flat, so that's great. Put those there. So if you want a printed surface, I'm going to take a bit of my coloured paper. Let's see, we'll find something quite, these two. And you can print with virtually, well, not anything, but so many different things. So we'll mix up some paint. Let's get the green and put it onto here. And roll it out with a roller or brayer. I've got a big one and I've got a small one. It's good to have two, and it's quite good to have, you don't have to, but it's quite good to have different sizes. I'm going to roll out with that one. Roll it out till it fizzes a bit. Put a bit more ink on. This is just trial and error. Quite cold, this paint, it's taking a long time to come out. I'm going to try with one colour first, and I'll show you how to overlay. We'll be using this with image transfer as well. That's fizzing, it's not sliding, not too much, and it's not too little, and you can always add more. Right, so now if you want to print a texture onto there, it's incredibly versatile. Anything textured, like this. Print onto there. I'm just texturing it so that when it goes on to this colour, it's got a pattern or a texture on it. Roll that over. There, and you can see on the plate it's left a relief, but it's also, this will print. So you've got two things that will print here. This will print, put it down on the colour. This is never ending. You can just go on and on experimenting. Press it down pretty hard. Should print. Yep, quite subtle. Obviously, if you wanted a dark contrast, you put on a darker paint, or you might want a bright white paint. We'll try different colours. So that's one texture. I'm doing very basic things. You can use stencils, all sorts of things, little sort of, which I haven't got here, but this is the basics of it. So we're going to put that down. Lift it up, and that should paint in relief. It'll certainly go like this. Try it on here. Very subtle. We're going to try something dark afterwards, and Let's just see if that's going to pick up on here. No, I think I'm going to put a darker colour over. It's not really showing up terribly well there. Let's put that dark green over. Try that. I think it'll show up better. Roll it out, mix it in with the other green. You can leave it so that you can see the different colours, but sometimes it's not good if it's too oily, and this is quite liquid, this acrylic paint. You can use any sort of paint for this. This is Liquitex acrylic, and it looks to me as if it could be a bit too runny, but we'll see. Okay, let's try that. Ooh, it's rather dramatic. Now, let's put those two together and try it on there. Ooh, look at that. Pleased with that. Now, you can do other things with this. You could probably, let's have a look, try a plain colour on it. This is what I mean by experimenting. Don't just do one thing and stop. Just think, now what could I do with that? Now with this, you can take another print, obviously, because there's masses of ink on there. Let's see what it looks like. Again, it does not have to be perfect. That is not the aim. The aim is the effect. Whether it looks exciting or not. But to me, that is exciting, that sort of contrast there. So, oh dear, thin paper. Well, I'm going to rip it, so I've got two bits. Oh, that's rather nice. And I like that light bit at the bottom. There. Lovely. You could probably do that again. Let's try it. You'll end up with a whole row of them. That one. And then the other thing I think is quite nice is clean your brayer, your roller, on another piece of paper, and you'll end up with another nice series. By the time you've finished all your printing, you'll have lots of lovely colours on here that would add to your background as well. So, I might do one more of that because it's very subtle, and I'm going to use a yellow because it's lighter and the contrast will show, hopefully. Okay. Always trial and error with this sort of thing, but you'll get it if you go on with it. You'll get a good effect. This will probably be very subtle because there isn't much green left on there, but we'll try it. Ooh, like that. Okay. Now, obviously, as I say, you could do it with black. You can do it with, let's put another colour on with that. We'll put pink on. And I'm going to print on something different when I put the texture on. I'm going to print onto music and some writing. There. This should be cleared up. I'm going to put that under the table because you might want to use it as a texture, or I might. This is better, this ink. This is acrylic block printing ink, and it's not as runny. with that, possibly. I think this is a bit too fragile to roll, so I'm just pressing it down lightly. Oh, nice. And I'm going to try it on yellow. First of all, with the actual paper. It up. And then I'm going to put a little bit of lettering on it. An old page of a book, a bit of French writing. Put that on there, and all that on. Let's see if that's taken. Don't leave it too long or it'll stick. A bit too much ink. Right, we'll try another one because that's a little bit too much ink left on there. Might be nice now. Try again. Trial and error. I'll try a bit on both sides there. Lift it up a little bit. Oh, I know why. There's two sheets there. Well, it's a bit smudgy, but you see, this is the thing with collage and experimenting. You can get some really nice effects. You could dribble onto that. And you can even spray as well. So that you get a lovely, watery, slightly mystical effect with just the lettering coming through. And obviously when that dries, the lettering will come through more. And you can do that with any combination of colours. Dripping is lovely. Let's get another example of that. You can just drip onto that normal paper there. Not quite as much. You have to make a mess with everything here, so don't worry about that. Let's get another colour. White is nice. Contrast. I'll put this onto something plain in a minute. I'm going to put it onto here, onto this green. I think it'll look rather nice. It's quite solid, this. I'm going to water it in a minute. Put a dollop on. And then try the water. Not showing up too much. Let's try another colour. We'll try, let's try this blue again because I know it's bright. We'll see the contrast. and it drips better. Let's get another colour. Let's try yellow. Some of these inks are thicker than others and don't drip as well. Let's try a bit from here. That's nice. I think that again, that looks dramatic because of the type and the image behind it. So you've got to choose what you do these techniques onto. I like that.